Some women walk through the world as if they inhabit two realms at once. There is a light in their eyes, a warmth in their smile that speaks of sunlit meadows and the gentle innocence of spring. Yet, beneath this surface, there is an echo of a different place, a quiet, unshakable knowing, a gravity that suggests they have navigated the darkness and are no longer afraid of it. This is the allure of the Persephone Effect, the magnetic pull of a woman who is both maiden and queen, both flower and underworld throne. She is the embodiment of a profound duality that most men are unconsciously desperate to understand, yet few are equipped to handle. A man may be drawn to her light, to the Kore, the maiden full of life and promise. He sees in her the potential for joy, for new beginnings, for a purity he may feel he has lost in himself. But what truly ensnares his soul, what occupies his thoughts long after she has left the room, is the glimpse of the queen of the underworld. It is the quiet confidence in her gaze that says, "I have seen the worst of it, and I am still here." It's the boundary she holds not with anger, but with an almost serene finality. He senses she has a secret garden and a hidden kingdom within her, and he is not automatically granted entry. This duality isn't a performance or a mask, it is the earned wisdom of a woman who has undertaken the most courageous journey of all, the descent into her own shadow. She did not run from her pain, she integrated it. And in doing so, she became whole. This pull is not merely a conscious attraction, it is a deep, archetypal resonance that originates in the male unconscious. Carl Jung called this the Anima, the inner feminine image that every man carries within him. The Anima is not just an image of an ideal woman, she is the gatekeeper to his own soul, his own emotional depths, his shadow self. When a man encounters a woman who embodies the Persephone duality, his Anima is profoundly activated. He sees in her light a reflection of his own potential for joy and connection. But it is her darkness, her quiet sovereignty over her own inner underworld, that truly captivates him. Why? Because she mirrors the parts of himself he has not yet dared to explore. Her comfort with the shadow invites him to face his own. Her wholeness challenges his fragmentation. He feels, on a level deeper than words, that to be with her is to embark on a journey of individuation himself. He is not just falling for a woman, he is falling for the promise of his own completion. This is why the attraction is so potent, so often obsessive. It feels fated, essential, as if he has found a missing piece of his own psyche. But here lies the critical test. A man who has not begun his own inner work will project his unhealed wounds and idealized fantasies onto her. He will try to possess her, to solve her, to force her into a singular role that makes his ego feel safe. He will either try to keep her as the innocent maiden, shielding her from a world he fears, or he will demonize her as the manipulative queen, punishing her for the very depth that enthralls him. You must understand this, his reaction to your duality is a diagnostic tool. It is a perfect mirror reflecting the state of his own psychological integration. The wounded masculine, the man still trapped in the grips of an unexamined ego, cannot hold the paradox. He needs you to be one thing or the other. He will see your strength and call it coldness. He will see your joy and call it naivety. He will see your boundaries and call them walls. He needs to categorize you, to put you in a box, because the sheer scale of your wholeness threatens the fragile structure of his own identity. He wants to be the Hades who traps Persephone in the underworld, the hero who saves the maiden from her darkness. He fails to grasp the fundamental truth: she is not a prisoner of the underworld, she is its rightful queen. She does not need saving, she needs a king who is not afraid to rule his own kingdom beside her. This is why such a man will often resort to control tactics, to emotional manipulation, to cycles of idealization and devaluation. He is desperately trying to manage his own internal chaos by controlling your external reality. He pulls you close to bask in your light, then pushes you away when your quiet depth reminds him of the work he has yet to do on himself. The intensity of his initial pursuit is often matched only by the intensity of his subsequent withdrawal. It was never truly about you, it was about his projection, his fantasy, and his fear of the authentic power you represent. The journey to becoming this woman, the woman who embodies the Persephone archetype, is not a path of accumulating external validation, but of radical internal alchemy. It begins with a descent. For many, this descent is not a choice, it is a shattering. A betrayal, a profound loss, a period where the sunlit world of the maiden is ripped away, and you are plunged into the cold, silent darkness of your own personal underworld. This is the modern-day abduction by Hades. It is the trauma that cracks the ego's veneer of everything is fine. In this desolate space, you are confronted with everything you have repressed, your grief, your rage, your shame, the parts of yourself you deemed unacceptable. This is the beginning of true shadow work. Most will do anything to escape this phase. They will distract, numb, or leap into another relationship, desperately seeking the light of the surface world again. But the woman who will one day wear the crown of the underworld stays. She sits in the darkness. She learns its contours. She allows the grief to carve new depths into her soul. She confronts the terrifying truth that her happiness cannot be outsourced. She discovers that the only person who can save her is herself. It is here, in the crucible of her own pain, that she begins to forge her sovereignty. She eats the pomegranate seeds, not as a trick of entrapment, but as a conscious choice to integrate the wisdom of her own darkness. Each seed is a painful truth she is willing to swallow, a piece of her shadow she is willing to own. This is where the ancient wisdom of Stoicism becomes not just a philosophy, but a survival guide. In the deafening silence of her underworld, she discovers the voice of Marcus Aurelius, reminding her, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. She learns to distinguish between the external chaos of her situation and the internal citadel of her mind. The actions of others, their betrayals, their projections, these are outside her control. They are like the weather. But her response, her interpretation, the meaning she assigns to her own suffering, this is her kingdom. This is her throne. She learns from Seneca that we are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more from imagination than from reality. She stops catastrophizing, stops allowing fear of the future to poison the present moment. She practices the art of emotional detachment, not as a form of coldness, but as a form of profound clarity. She can observe her feelings of pain and anger without becoming them. She understands they are visitors, not residents, in the palace of her mind. Epictetus teaches her the ultimate freedom, that no one can harm her soul unless she allows it. Her self-worth becomes non-negotiable, decoupled from anyone's approval or disapproval. It is no longer a fragile flower seeking sunlight, but a diamond forged in the immense pressure of her own integrated darkness. Her peace is not dependent on a peaceful life, it is a peace she carries within her, a portable throne she can access even in the heart of a storm. When she finally returns to the surface, she is irrevocably changed. She walks back into the world of light, but she brings the wisdom of the underworld with her. This is the source of her magnetic duality. Her laughter is richer because she has known profound sorrow. Her compassion is deeper because she has faced her own capacity for destruction. She can appreciate the beauty of a flower because she understands the cyclical nature of life and death. She is no longer a naive maiden, easily swayed by sweet words or grand gestures. Her eyes have a new kind of sight, they see through facades, they sense intentions, they recognize the echoes of unhealed wounds in others because she has so intimately tended to her own. This new version of her is often confusing to those who knew the before. They may find her more reserved, less eager to please. What they are witnessing is not a loss of warmth, but but the birth of discernment. She no longer gives her energy away indiscriminately. She understands it is a sacred, finite resource. She will share her light, her spring, but she no longer allows anyone to trample through her garden. The entrance to her inner world now has a gate, and she is the sole gatekeeper. This isn't a wall built from fear, it is a boundary drawn from self-respect. She knows her own value because she paid for it with her own tears, her own courage, her own descent. And that is a currency no one can counterfeit or devalue. Now, when a man enters her life, the entire dynamic has shifted. She is not auditioning for the role of his girlfriend or wife. She is observing him to see if he is worthy of entering her kingdom. She watches how he reacts to both sides of her nature. Does he celebrate her joy, her successes, her light? And, more importantly, how does he handle her quiet strength, her need for solitude, her refusal to be emotionally managed? Does he see her boundaries as a personal rejection, a wound to his ego? Or does he respect them as a sign of her self-possession? You must learn to see this interaction not as a romance, but as data collection. His every word, his every action, is a revelation of his own inner landscape. If he pressures you, he is revealing his own insecurity. If he tries to make you feel guilty for your independence, he is revealing his own codependency. If he idealizes you, he is revealing his inability to love a real, whole woman, preferring instead the flawless projection of his anima. The Persephone woman does not absorb these projections. She does not argue with them. She does not try to change his mind or prove her worth. She simply observes. She sees his behavior not as a reflection of her value, but as a clear statement of his limitations. And with the serene detachment of a queen surveying her realm, she decides if his character is a worthy addition to her life. She is not swayed by his potential, by his words, or by the intensity of his initial desire. She is moved only by his demonstrated integrity. This sovereignty is made possible by the development of her own healthy animus, the Jungian concept of the inner masculine. Through her trials in the underworld, she was forced to cultivate the qualities she may have once sought in a man. She developed her own inner structure, her own logic, her own capacity for decisive action. She learned to protect herself, to provide for herself, to be her own unwavering source of stability. Her animus is no longer a vague, unconscious force, but a well-honed and integrated part of her psyche. This is why she does not operate from a place of neediness. She doesn't require a man to complete her, because she has already undertaken the sacred work of becoming whole on her own. The man she chooses is not a savior, but a partner. He is not a project to be fixed, but a sovereign king to stand beside. She seeks a man who has done his own work, who has faced his own dragons, who has integrated his own anima. He is not intimidated by her power because he is secure in his own. He is not afraid of her darkness because he has navigated his own. He celebrates her autonomy because he values his own. Their connection is not born of a desperate, codependent clinging, but of the mutual recognition of two complete souls choosing to share their journey. This is the rarest and most powerful kind of union, not two halves making a whole, but two wholes creating a new world together. The Persephone woman masters the power of absence. This is not a calculated game of pulling back to create anxiety. It is the natural rhythm of a woman with a rich, internal world. When she is with you, she is fully present, her light and warmth gracing your life. But she understands the necessity of returning to her own kingdom, to her solitude, her passions, her work, the inner landscape that nourishes her soul. Her energy does not leak out in constant texts, and seeking reassurance, or in worrying about a man's feelings. Her energetic sovereignty is absolute. When she is not with him, she is not anxiously waiting by the phone, she is ruling her underworld. She is reading, creating, learning, and tending to the foundations of her own being. This creates an irresistible gravitational pull. The man of substance feels this not as rejection, but as a challenge to rise. He recognizes that her absence is not a void, but a fullness in another realm. It inspires him to cultivate his own inner world, to become a man who has something more to offer than mere attention. The immature man, however, will experience this as a profound wound. Her self-sufficiency will trigger his deepest insecurities. He will try to punish her for it, to make her feel guilty for not needing him every second of the day. He will interpret her peace as indifference, her solitude as a slight against him. Again, this is invaluable data. Her natural rhythm acts as a filter, effortlessly weeding out the men who seek a source to drain from, and drawing in the men who seek a fire to share warmth with. Her past trauma is no longer a source of shame, it has been alchemically transformed into her greatest source of power. Like the pomegranate seed that bound Persephone to the underworld, it was the very thing that initiated her into her queendom. She understands that the wound is the place where the light enters, as the poet Rumi said. Her pain carved out the depths that now allow her to hold immense joy. Her scars are not imperfections to be hidden, they are the chronicles of her strength, the proof that she is a survivor who learned to thrive. This perspective is profoundly liberating. You stop seeing your difficult past as a liability that makes you damaged goods. Instead, you recognize it as your unique initiation. It is the curriculum your soul needed to evolve. It gave you an empathy for others' suffering that is authentic and deeply felt. It gave you a bullshit detector that is finely tuned and ruthlessly efficient. It gave you an unshakable appreciation for genuine peace, because you know its price. When a man probes your past, looking for cracks to exploit or a damsel to rescue, he will find neither. He will find a woman who owns her entire story, the light and the dark, with a serene acceptance that unnerves him. She does not need his pity or his absolution. Her past does not define her, but the wisdom she extracted from it most certainly does. She did not just survive her underworld, she plundered it for all its treasures. This leads to the cultivation of a stoic gaze, a way of looking at the world with profound calm and acceptance. The Persephone woman embodies the principle of amor fati, a love of one's fate. She does not rail against what is. She embraces reality on its own terms. If a relationship ends, she grieves, for she is not numb. But she does not crumble. She understands, as Seneca did, that all things are on loan from fortune. She can love with an open heart precisely because she is not terrified of loss. She can enjoy the seasons of spring and summer in her life without the constant anxiety of the coming autumn and winter, because she knows she is the queen of winter, too. She has been there before and knows she can survive it again. This emotional equanimity is the ultimate allure. In a world of chaotic reactions and desperate attachments, her calm is a sanctuary. A man feels this. He feels that she is an anchor in the storm, not another boat being tossed by the waves. He senses that her happiness is not a fragile thing dependent on his every move. This frees him. It frees him from the exhausting burden of being her sole source of emotional regulation. It allows him to be human, to be flawed, to be on his own journey, without the fear that one misstep will shatter her world. He can finally relax, be his authentic self, and connect with her on a level of profound truth, knowing he is with a woman who is not afraid of life in all its brutal, beautiful complexity. She understands that a man's ego projection is a cage, and she will not willingly enter it. When he idealizes her, placing her on a pedestal as a goddess of perfection and light, she does not blush and accept the compliment. She recognizes it for what it is, a gilded cage. He is not seeing her, he is seeing his anima, his fantasy. And she knows that the man who builds a pedestal is also the one who is most eager to knock you off at the moment you display a human flaw. The moment her shadow side appears, a moment of anger, a boundary, a disagreement, his idealized image shatters, and his disappointment and rage will be swift and merciless. Likewise, if he demonizes her, calling her cold, difficult, or manipulative for simply having standards, she recognizes this projection as well. He is fighting with his own shadow, with his own unhealed mother wounds, and is using her as the screen for his internal horror film. The woman who has integrated her Persephone nature simply steps aside. She refuses to play the role he assigns her, whether it is angel or demon. You are not required to live inside another person's psychological drama. Your identity is not up for debate. She offers him the quiet dignity of her reality. If he cannot see it, if he prefers the phantoms of his own mind, she allows him to do so. From a distance, her peace is more valuable than his approval. This journey culminates in a state of profound emotional freedom. It is the realization that the ultimate prize is not a man's love, but your own unwavering self-possession. The quest is not to be chosen, but to be the chooser. She operates from a place of abundance, not scarcity. She knows that she is a universe unto herself, and that any partnership is simply the beautiful collision of two galaxies, not a desperate search for a missing star. This is the essence of individuation. She has successfully differentiated herself from the collective unconscious, from societal expectations, and from the projections of others. She is her own source. Her life is not a waiting room for a relationship to begin. Her life is the grand hall, already full of art, music, and meaning. A worthy partner is one who can appreciate the beauty of the hall as it is, and perhaps add a new masterpiece to the collection, but he is not the architect, the foundation, or the curator. He is a welcome and honored guest. This energy is unmistakable. It is the quiet hum of a woman who is at peace in her own skin, who walks with the dual grace of the maiden who loves the world and the queen who is not afraid of it. She is both the gentle rain that nurtures life and the unyielding bedrock that can withstand any storm. The final liberation is a detachment from outcomes. She gives her best, loves with integrity, and speaks her truth, but she releases her grip on how the world or another person responds. She has learned the ultimate Stoic lesson, to place her good in the realm of her own choices, her own virtue, not in the fickle realm of external rewards. Whether a man chooses her or leaves her, whether she succeeds or fails by society's standards, these things do not touch the core of her being. Her inner citadel is secure. Her sense of self is not conditional. She has found a peace that surpasses all understanding, a joy that is not contingent on circumstance. It is the joy of a soul that has journeyed into the deepest darkness and returned to the light, not just intact, but more fully and brilliantly alive. She has become the living embodiment of the union of opposites, a testament to the power of a woman who has dared to become whole. She knows that the right man will not try to dim her light or banish her shadow. He will be the one who has enough light of his own to dance with all of her. The woman who knows her worth doesn't chase, she chooses.